There's a good fish. Tell you what, this is one of my favorite things in the world, this late ice sweatshirt weather. And kind of waiting for this all winter. And crappies, that just seems to go together. Oh yeah, that's what we're out here for too, right there, look at that. There's just a nice crappie. Tell you, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I love ice fishing all winter long, but I tell you what, one of the things that I look forward to every year is just sweatshirt weather. Walk around, just kick out old holes, and it's just some of the easiest, best fishing of the year. What we're doing is we're using soft plastics, we're fishing high in the water column, sometimes right underneath the ice to catch big crappies at late ice. One of the greatest ice fishing opportunities on the ice belt. We'll get this fish in the water. Kicked, waved us goodbye. Boy, beautiful fish. Show you what we're doing here. And there's just a hexifly, and this has been one of my favorite panfish jigs. You see the bottom of that just got a really wide profile. I think these crappies can see it silhouetted against the ice, especially when they're high in the water column, but it shows off a good signal on the locator, which can be really important too when you're fishing right underneath the ice, because sometimes it can be really hard to mark what you're fishing. But what I'm doing is I'm tipping it with an impulse smelt. And basically this just looks like a little minnow. And the thing about soft plastics and panfish is that a lot of times when you're working these baits, you're trying to make the bait look like an invertebrate. There's mayfly larvae, there's small soft plastics that look like scuds and bugs and all kinds of different invertebrates in the water. But with crappies, what I like to do is use this longer profile soft plastic. It looks like a young of the year minnow. And what I'm doing is when I'm rigging it up on this hexifly, it's just a Northland tackle hexifly, just run it through the tip just so that it's perfectly symmetrical. Okay, so that's the basic presentation. When you work this in the water, it looks like a small minnow, where a lot of times I'm stroking it more and I'm getting it to dart around more than just a quiver. I'm trying to make it look like a minnow versus an insect. But here's another little trick that I'll do on these that I like to do for these big crappies, is I tie it on a Palomar knot on the jig head, especially on this particular jig right here. And what I do is I slide that Palomar knot towards the hook, which this probably goes against everything you've ever read. Everybody says to make sure that that Palomar knot is straight up and down, but slide it towards the hook. And what that does, it causes that jig to dart out even more so. And for tripping the triggers of these big crappies, that's just a deadly little tip for fishing these soft plastics. There's one. Ooh, I don't think this one's a crappie. He's got a little more heft to him. That's a big fish. It's got to be a bass. Need a hand, Tony? It's a nice fish, whatever it is. Bass? I think so. Get this transducer out of there. Oh. Yeah, it's a great big bass. I don't know if I'm going to get him up, turned up this hole. Holy cow. Look at that. Wow, that's a definite bonus fish. Look at the mouth on that thing. Wow, fun fish. Wow, beautiful fish. Incidentally caught, but sure fun. Here we go. You never know what you're going to find mixed in with the crappies out here. And here's a bonus fish. It's late ice, late ice, and this is fun. It's a lot of fun. Let's see if we can get another one. There's a good fish. Oh yeah, I'll get the transducer out of the way. You know, on late ice like this, I'm just walking through, it's just like a minefield out here of old holes from people fishing all winter. Oh, there's a dandy there. Look at that. Get my thumb in there. Wow. But I'm just walking around just kicking out holes, but it seems like that's part of the mystique of this, is just finding these old holes. And there's water running in the holes especially. That just seems to kickstart this. Where a lot of times that's some of the best fishing, or if you have a lot of holes drilled. Probably one of my favorite things I've ever found are old spearing holes. We got water running in the holes and you got foam bobbing around up on top of the holes, but just the crappies will be laying right underneath that. Beauty. There we go. There. Get through the slush there. There she goes. Beauty. And just same program as before. It's just that impulse smelt, and I've been working it fairly aggressively, just getting it to dart around. I'll try to catch another one here, but I've been just walking around from hole to hole, catching a fish here, catching a fish there. Seems like these fish are moving pretty good. Got them underneath me for a little while and they're gone. Now, time to check another hole. You know, a lot of people love the auto feature on the new FL28, where basically you just turn it on, tells you the depth. But I tell you, when you're hole hopping like this, the trouble when you have an automatic range with digital is the fact that it takes a little while for the depth finder to think and record back. And so a lot of times when I'm hole hopping, I'll turn it off auto and I'll turn it over to the correct range setting. What this enables you to do is just drop the transducer down and instantly you see what's down there. So for this hole hopping where you're just dropping around, trying to see if anybody's home, it's a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. There we go. I feel like the Pied Piper walking around just checking out these holes. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Another nice crappie. Open up. There we go. There's a nice crappie. You know, this late ice period, these fish start to get that dark spring color, but yeah, this is a thick fish. Gorgeous fish. Yeah, that'd been a nice eater right there. There. Boy, he came up and drilled it. It's gonna be another nice crappie. Just the way that he, oh yeah, dandy. The way that he fed coming up. Wow, he came up and hit it. You know, I love how these hexie flies have that large profile on them, and you can just really see them as they go down on the graph, and all of a sudden, just the marks come shooting up to it. Wow, nice fish. Wow, wow, beautiful fish. I've got it loaded down there, so I'm gonna get back down there as soon as we get him back.
Crappies often spend much of the winter suspending over basins. During the spring, crappies will spawn in shallow protected bays and coves that have good vegetation like bulrushes. Catching crappies at late ice is often a matter of connecting the dots and figuring out what locations lie between point A and point B. Crappies will often stage around vegetation or structure that is located outside of spawning areas at late ice. On sunny days, especially as the day progresses, crappies will often suspend just under the bottom of the ice. As the ice season progresses, fish will often move shallower.
Hi, I'm Jason Mitchell with Clam. I tell you what, if you're fishing for perch, bluegills, or crappies, something to consider when you're out fishing is figuring out what the ceiling is of those fish. Now, what is a ceiling? How high will those fish come up to chase something? On some lakes, it might be a foot on a really tough bite, but in a lot of lakes, especially when you have good visibility, these fish might come up 2 or 3, 4 feet. And a lot of times what I like to do once I can figure out what that ceiling is fish at that level. Now, why fish that high? First off, the fish can see it from a lot further away, so you pull in a lot more fish in below the hole. But the other thing is that when you get that fish to rise, typically they become more aggressive. So the higher you get that fish, the more likely that that fish is going to bite. All right, there we go. Come on, come up here. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I just love these things. Come on. Jig popped right out of the mouth, but Yeah, just a gorgeous fish. And show you something here I've been doing. I think, you know, I'm a big proponent of using electronics. There she goes. And you know, on a really tough bite though, one thing that can really help your fishing is line up your rod tip with your Vexilar. That way, as you're seeing the fish and watching the response of the fish, you can line up where that way your eyes don't have to move or your head doesn't have to move to see what your rod tip's doing or what the line's doing versus what you're seeing on the screen. And so, you know, on a good bite, you know, you can look off to the side and it don't matter. But on a tough bite, like I've been just having to work through these fish. I don't know if it's just the time of the day, the sun's getting kind of high, but mark them, mark them, mark them, and every fish has been a little bit different. I've been having to work them a little bit to catch them, and when you do have to work them, that in itself, by just making sure that that rod tip, your eyes, and your Vexilar are all in the same plane, that little tip right there in itself, I think, can help you catch a few more fish.
Another thing that a lot of times people overlook is the fact that crappies are predator fish. You know, don't be afraid to upsize your lure a little bit. You know, I put a impulse smelt on there right now, and it's mimicking a minnow. I'm not afraid to aggressively jig it. Get it moving, get that flash, make it look like, you know, there's bait fish in the area and these crappies are coming in and devouring them. But instead of, you know, downsize, 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 sometimes that is the key, but don't overlook the fact that these fish are predators. And, you know, for years people fished with a minnow and a bobber. These impulse plastics allow you to fish a lot longer on the same lure. I've been out here all day. We've had lots of fish, and I'm on my second impulse because the sunfish got one. It's definitely been key for getting these fish to go.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors will be right back.
There it is. You know, probably the hardest, sometimes one of the hardest things about these fish when they're in this stage is just seeing them on your electronics when they're right below the ice. Where is it at? Oh, it's caught on the ice. Good fish. There it comes. There. Just using monofilm. I like monofilming for crappies. It seems like I just miss a lot of fish. Unless I'm fishing really deep water, I'll use like a 3-pound or a 5-pound braid. But a lot of times I just love monofilming for shallow water crappies. But what I also love is this rod here is called a meat stick. It's just a fiberglass blank that's sanded down. It's just got a really soft tip. And so the biggest thing is, you know, those crappies will just latch onto it, and it's so easy just to roll them over where you miss them. And so that rod tip will just dunk a little bit, and you can set the hook and just kind of almost with a lift in the shallow, you know, when they're right underneath the ice like this, without tearing off their lips. That's the thing with crappies. You get too stiff a line, too stiff a rod, and you just tear them off so easy. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. What do we got? Oh wow, look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's just a tank. A tank of a bluegill. Look at this big boy. Get my tail back. Yeah, that just typically, you know, where you do find crappies, there's typically a few bluegills around, but that's a dandy.
There we go. Oh, another good one. You know, here it is, middle of the day, and finally this, whoa, he's giving me some good tugs. Finally the sun is, oh, geez, another dandy crappie. Finally the sun is up overhead, and you know what happens is you think of a crappie bite most of the year as being early morning, later into the evening. But as you get to this late ice period, as the sun warms up this ice, starts getting the water flowing again, these fish are active all day long. We've had our best fishing, you know, at the 12 o'clock hour. This has just been phenomenal.
There's a good fish. Oh wow, that fish is pull the transducer out. Less can go wrong. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at that, isn't that a dandy? Boy, I can't even hardly see that hexy fly. Look at there. That's the magic right there. Just a tank of a crappie. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. I've been just hopping around from hole to hole. I've caught a few fish out of this hole. Kind of remember the holes by the size. There's some 10-inch holes and there's some bigger holes from when the water was melting. There's some smaller holes, but I'm just kind of making my rounds, and you'll have fish underneath you for a little while and they're gone. And but I can't tell you how many times a day where catch fish out of a hole and then come back a little bit later after checking 2 or 3 other holes and they're right back in there. And I suppose a person could just stay put in the same hole. These fish are moving around, but I just like to hop around and feel like I maximize my efficiency a little bit by doing that.
Dandy crappie. They're the guys
Jason Mitchell Outdoors will be right back.
Get him back.
From our base camp in Devils Lake, North Dakota, we travel the whole Midwest looking for the best fishing bites. If you like real-time fish reports, find out what bodies of water that we're fishing just to find the general patterns and techniques that we're using, give us a like on Facebook and hit the road with Jason Mitchell Outdoors.
There we go. You know, it's going to be another nice crappie the way it came up. You know, so many times I get asked, oh, dandy crappie. I get asked, you know, where are you guys catching these fish? How are you doing? And so many times I drive around, I check lakes, I check, you know, there's no shortage of lakes in this area. And I'll just get out and start popping holes. It is late ice, but there isn't a soul out here. We just kind of looked for a basin area and started punching holes. I punch a lot of holes in the winter, and this is what you're searching for. Doing a little bit of research and then actually just getting out there and punching holes, looking for fish. They're the guys that are on fish all winter.
On today's show, we're fishing western Minnesota in Becker County. Becker County has over 834 lakes, most of which have a fishable population of panfish.
You know, and typically the whole key, when you drop that transducer down and you see that there's fish down there, is see how high you can get those fish. And what I like to do is drop down and drop above the fish and see how high I get them. Maybe it's a foot, maybe it's 2 feet. On the best days, you're going to see those fish shooting up 4 feet or more. But try to establish what that ceiling is and fish at that ceiling. And a lot of times when I get to that ceiling, get to that maximum height where I think these fish will elevate to, I'll work that jig really aggressive and I'll just really pound it to try to pull those fish in. But when you do that, it doesn't matter what kind of reel you're using, whether you're using a spinning reel or a schoolie reel or an inline reel, is that you're going to build up twist because this bait's going all over the place. And so make sure that you always keep monitoring that and just keep stretching it. I'm always stretching and trying to get as much twist out as I can by just pulling on that line, stretching it tight. Just take care of that line so that way when you drop that jig down, you don't have a lot of twist, because that aggressive snap and that aggressive pound might pull the fish up and get them up higher in the water column and easier to catch. But a lot of times we're still quivering it and just bouncing it to seal the deal once those fish get close. So fish aggressively, but make sure though as well that when you do fish aggressively, you have to take care of your line. Oh wow, I just love that. You lift up on them and you can't even hardly budge them. Transducer out of the water. The fish is right. I think these fish are getting higher as the days progress, but you know, tell you what, that's why, look at this, Tony.
Wow.
That's why this is one of my favorite times of the year, right here. You know, I think these fish are getting higher and higher as the day progresses.
Definitely what it seems like. But
yeah, isn't that just another tank of a crappie? And I tell you what, there's probably not going to be too many days left where we're going to be able to ice fish together, my friend.
I hear you. We'll be out again next year, but this is, we're on late ice.
Yeah, late ice. I tell you what, late ice is some of the best ice.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors is brought to you by Shields, North Dakota Tourism, Clam, Vexilar, Jason Mitchell Elite Series Rods, Ice Armor, Northland Tackle, Cooper Chevrolet, Bionic Line, and Salmo.
To find out more information on Jason Mitchell Outdoors, make their official webpage one of your favorite pages. Find out upcoming show schedules and air times, along with past shows, article and product reviews at jasonmitchelloutdoors.com. Great information on the outdoors is just one click away.